This is the Open University.
Open University. Not the Open University. Not the Open University.
Hello there, welcome back to the Open University, and I'm calling this one Guitar, much in the spirit I did my album Accordion, because I bought a guitar in the market, flea market down by the Sorbonne University on Sunday. And it's really a screwed up guitar. It says pop music on it. And when I bought it, I saw it there, it had one string or two strings on. It looked filthy. Still is a bit filthy, actually. I did wash it. And I said to the guy, c'est combien ce guitare abîmé, this beaten up, destroyed guitar, how much is that? And he said 30 euros, and I was like, oh, I'll give you 10 for it. Then we finally compromised on 20. So it actually turns out to be pretty good once I put some nylon strings on it. And I've been sort of brushing off the rusty memories of some of my older songs, and thought I would do a couple of them for you, just to show that the old brain is still working, the fingers are still, there's no arthritis or anything yet. Maybe I should start with because somebody on my Patreon asked for the chords to Right Hand Heart, and I didn't have a guitar, so I had to notate the chords just using an iPad, which was very difficult because the iPad guitar app just doesn't really work in the same way as a real guitar. So here are the real chords. If I can remember them. I meet this girl with a right hand heart. I notice nothing until we start to kiss, and my hand goes beneath her dress to the left hand breast. Downstairs the party is going full swing. The people we came with haven't noticed a thing, and as I tease the teeth with my teeth, I feel nothing underneath. I move my head across her chest, put my ear against the left hand, the right hand breast, and sure enough, her heart is there, loud and clear. Beating on the right side of oblivion. Beating on the wrong side of her body. And though I know there's nothing dangerous in it, I'm feeling queasy, getting worse by the minute, wondering how to escape this nightmare when up the stair comes this boy with no heart at all. Him and her, they make the perfect couple. Him so blind in his rapacity that he doesn't even see it. Beating on the right side of oblivion. Beating on the wrong side of her body. As I contemplate this mating of rapacity and sickness, of which I am the fascinated, unwilling witness, I see he couldn't care where her heart might be, and I say, what the hell is wrong with me? Am I just too pure and too proud? And as the bed creaks, I ask myself aloud, could it be that what makes me a freak is my contempt for freaks? I start to sweat, I feel it approach. Familiar self-hate, familiar self-reproach. Deep in it beats so hard. My right hand heart beating on the right side of oblivion. Beating on the right side of my body. Beating on the right side of oblivion. Beating on. Oh, it's rusty, isn't it? But I'm thinking, since there were so many sort of bossa songs on the covers project I just did, it would be nice to do a sort of bossa nova album, perhaps with a little AI assistance, who knows, but perhaps without, perhaps just playing, you know, raw acoustic guitar.
The orange appetizer can't advertise at all. United you will rise, divided you will fall. A donkey knee deep in manure could do a better job, I'm sure. But swill and drink your fill, and cram your mouth with all his orange rules of death.
This kind of thing I used to play. Give me the ladies' man with all of his honesty. Is it honesty? Give me the ladies' man with all of his vanity. Yeah, I think it's give me the ladies' man with all of his vanity. Over the latest and greatest and bravest man ever to trample his enemies. Under the star of peace, or under the sword of Damocles, every man sees that he can't please women unless his heart is meek and his soul is willing to be explicit. If there's a word for it, I'll kiss it. Caress it, undress it, and try not to mess it up. Making my... Oh, there's a very complicated bit there. Making my visit to the Atlantic. To be pedantic under the blankets. I'll discover your lost Atlantis under the sea, under the stars, under the sword. In the end we are flesh, in the beginning the word, under the sea, under the stars, under the sword. In the end we are flesh, in the beginning the word. So that's the kind of thing, it's not quite bossa nova, but it's a rhythmic plucked style. I'm still really getting used to the high action on these strings, and you know, my fingers are still very soft. When I was buying the guitar, I worried that because cheap guitars, like if you play octaves, doesn't quite do the octave. This does a bit sharp on that string, doesn't it? No. Yeah, it goes a bit sharp the higher up the fretboard you get. So it's not really great. Actually, that one's not so bad. It's just that low E string. That one's a bit sharp, yeah. Which means that because this head is loose, you know, there's sort of frets here. This little board thing is loose and just being held in place by the strings. So it's a bit. Actually, it's not been going out of tune as much as I expected. But I'm pleasantly surprised that for such a cheap €20 guitar, it's relatively okay. My favorite chord back then was that. The day the circus came to town. Because it's sort of ambiguous. I don't know what it's called technically. It must be a B sharp. C flat. I really don't know. I have very limited musical theory knowledge. The day the circus came to... I'd say that's one I'd have to relearn. Somebody asked me about Widow Twankey. Could I provide the chord chart for Widow Twankey? But I couldn't, because Widow Twankey basically is a cut-up version of The Next Time, the Cliff Richard cover I did for Jomas. And it couldn't really, you know, you had to retune the guitar in the middle section because it changes key, and I couldn't find the fingerings for that. I couldn't reach the chords you'd have to reach when you change key, so I retuned the guitar. I wouldn't expect people to, you know, to be reading a chord chart and then see an instruction to retune. I can always play things like Lucky Like Saint Sebastian now. That's quite, I wouldn't say easy because it's got some stretches. So it goes sharp there. Once upon a time there was a man called Saul who persecuted Christians until he saw that the work was bearing fruit for the Christians. So the man changed his opinions and his Christian name to Paul. And he wrote important chapters in the Bible. The blood on his writing hand reeked to high heaven. Paul resolved to die. I see that. That's difficult. So he wrote to friends in Rome, a senator who owed him a favor, asking for an executioner so Paul could make his exit as a martyr. The senator sent this answer. He said, should you be so lucky like Saint Sebastian? Lucky like Saint Sebastian, preferring the egg to the aspirin, swooning as I think that I tended to play really high. So when I did the chord charts for this guy on Patreon, I had to make my own chord charts, which went right up the fretboard to nearly to the hole. Your fingers fall into the hole, into the void, because people don't usually do that. They usually find the chords in nice, low, easy places. The action gets higher and higher as you go higher up the fretboard, at least on this guitar it does, so it gets harder to hold down those chords, especially with weak fingers that haven't played a guitar for a while. I can't remember how I played that chorus. I think it was up here. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, it's all minors anyway, so it's a bit easier, just bar chords. Dun, dun, stripping naked in the Circus Maximus with a martyr-eating lioness, bartering with flesh for a little pain. Scenes like this give sadomasochism a bad name, and so on. Every guitar is different. I mean, I didn't really ever own a guitar, and I've never owned an amplifier, a guitar amplifier. I rented an acoustic guitar when I played Circus Maximus in the studio, in Alaska Studios back in 1986. My home guitar was a Baldwin semi-acoustic, bright red, 12-string. So, and I tended to play it and to mic it acoustically. So it had this spidery, very confidential tone, and I would sing in this very confidential, quiet voice so as not to disturb the neighbours and the various bedsits I lived in at the time. So that you hear that on the first EP, which has some, you know, Third-Party Fire and Theft and Hotel Marquis de Sade. Those songs often also feature detunings. Sometimes I would detune just one of the two strings, like the top E string. One of them would be a semitone below to give it a kind of, you know, atonal or dissonant feeling, so that it would always be a kind of circus quality or sinister circus quality to the songs. And but I can't remember the tunings of a lot of those Circus Maximus tracks. I would have to mess around a little bit to find. I think Hotel Marquis de Sade, for instance, I think it had definitely a tuned down couple of top strings, maybe tuned down a semitone. Let's see if I can. See, when you're picking, you can actually pick out chords so that the discords aren't so discordant. The way you pick can actually make things almost work or just sound more minimally discordant. So the bass strings would have been the same. And yeah, how did third Ballad of the Barrel Organist start? Started like that, but without the detuned top strings. Don't stop the night, we dash to this flat, and again, for the first time, stripped off our wet clothes. Stop the night, the sixth. It's quite nice, that one. Stop the night, the sixth sense of lovers instinctively tells us another is close. Make the night we first made love come again. Oh yeah, there's that chord. The night we first made love at gunpoint. It's the tension, the sort of thriller horror film chord where there's a kind of unresolved tension. Don't stop the night of the creak in the boards, the creak that forebodes the voyeur and the Christmas thief. Something there. And the Christmas thief. Stop the night, the sixth sense of lovers instinctively tells us another is close. Somewhere there. Make the night we first made love come again. The night we first made love at gunpoint. You edgelord Momus. Honestly, the song's about, it could have been a nice love song about nostalgia if it weren't for this third party creeping in with his gun, you know. Typical Momus scenario. Back then, anyway. 3 songs about threesomes. The Beast with 3 backs. So yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm happy to have this. I like shitty old battered guitars. This was a Dutch model. It's called Egmond with a D on the end. And these were churned out very cheaply and in huge quantities in the 60s to cotton on to the songwriting boom that Bob Dylan had speared. I should have my leg the other way around. That'd be much more comfortable. The Brassens pose, I call this. Our Jake Thackeray, who was copying Brassens. But yeah, people in their bedsits in the 60s wanted to do, you know, Bob Dylan songs, so they bought these Egmonds, and they were much cheaper. They were a quarter or an eighth, a tenth of the price of an equivalent Gibson or Gretsch or whatever the other guitars were back then. My bread semi-acoustic was called a Baldwin. It was, I don't know, it probably wasn't a good first guitar, but because David Bowie had been playing 12-string guitar in his early 70s period, late 60s, early 70s, it was a very Bowie-esque kind of instrument for me. And because semi-acoustics were kind of part of a songwriting boom which was happening in the 80s, you know, Martin Stevenson and the Dainties, Roddy Frame and Aztec Camera, Stephen Tintin Duffy, all these people seem to be semi-acoustic, or the Pale Fountains, or whoever, they all seem to have non-solid bodied semi-acoustic guitars which you could play without an amplifier. As I say, I never bought an amplifier. I thought they were too heavy. And I even hate the heavy solid bodied guitars that, you know, electric guitars that everybody seemed to want back then, because they could imagine they were in the Velvet Underground or whatever. I guess I was a folk singer, mostly a kind of avant folk singer even back then, because I wanted to do discords and funny arrangements and interesting, you know, prepared piano and stuff was very important to me right from my teenage years. I was into John Cage and things like that, but I was also into narrative songs, which you could write as miniature books or short stories, you know, a bit like early Ian McEwan short stories set to music. That was really my ideal when I got my record contracts and early guitars and things. After my Baldwin, I bought I think I had a Gibson, which was a copy of a Gretsch. That was a pretty good guitar. I gave it away to somebody in New York eventually, but that was nice, but it was kind of creeping back. It was only 6 strings, and it was creeping back really towards the sort of acoustic sounds. And I find I've got 2 acoustic guitars in Berlin, a bit like this, but they're both broken in some way. That one of them has a string missing, I think. Another has a top string that it sounds okay when it's open, but as soon as you hit the frets, it plays the wrong note. It plays like sharp 1 semitone. So they were all hobbled. But this is kind of, you know, when I was a kid in my bedroom in Edinburgh, I had a guitar with missing strings. And what I would do to get around the fact that it wasn't a proper instrument is I would stick a microphone under the strings and I would use it as a sound generating device, you know. So that's it. That's my guitar, and expect more, you know, expect a guitar-inspired album, which isn't to say it won't be using AI and all sorts of weird arrangement tricks and, you know, discords and that stuff I love, because I've always mixed acoustic sounds with this kind of experimental approach. But what I like is that you can play a bass line on an acoustic guitar and suddenly everything sounds very organic. So what I was doing in the mid-teens of this century is that I was trying to go back to my bedsit style of miking up an acoustic guitar, but a sort of battered and broken acoustic guitar, playing bass lines, starting a song, writing a song by doing a bass line. So, you know, something like the Fallacy, I think it's called. Dun, dun, dun. It's based around a guitar riff. Somebody listed that riff as the best bass line they'd heard or something, one of the top bass lines of the 21st century. But it's actually not a bass line. It's dun, 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 dun. If God hadn't meant me to play with myself, He wouldn't have given me pockets. Da, 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 da. He moves in mysterious waves. But those songs were all based around playing a kind of muted bass line, which is kind of a new wave, kind of post-punky kind of thing. Dun, 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 pumping a bass line like that. But to do it on an acoustic guitar is quite unusual, I think. And then you put some distortion on and whatever. Distorted acoustic guitar can sound really nice. It doesn't have that sort of hair metal kind of histrionic feel that really solid-bodied guitar through an amp does if you put lots of distortion on. Yeah, anyway, so lots of fun, hours of fun, and I still have the mental capacity, not always to remember my lyrics, but to remember some of the chords and things, even for classics like Remember This One. I was drifting out of tune a bit. I like you, I like how you like how I like you, but I don't need you. Having said, but I don't need you. No, it's not. I like you, I like how you like how I like you, but I don't need you. Don't need you to like me to like you, because if you didn't like me, I would still like you, you see. La la la. La la la. I lick you, I love how you love how I lick you, but I don't need you to like me to lick you. If your pleasure turned into pain, I would still lick for my personal gain. La la la. La la la. I fuck you. I love how you love how I fuck you. But I don't fucking need you. Don't need you to need me to fuck you. If you need me to need you to fuck, that fucks everything up. La la la. La la la. I want you to want me to want you. But I don't need you. Now where does it go from there? Yeah, it goes to the A, yeah. But I don't need you to need me to need you. That's just me. So take me or leave me. But please don't need me. Please don't need me. Need me. Don't need me to need you to need me. Cause we're here one minute, the next we're dead. So love me and leave me, but try not to need me. But try not to need me, enough said. I want you, but I don't need you, etc. Goodbye and see you next time.
Open University.
Open University. Not the Open University.
This is BBC Two. Now, Bob Harris introduces this week's edition of the Old Grey Whistle Test.
Fanny, and they'll be back later.